Okay, welcome back. So this is the second video in Inter-VLAN routing, but we're going to swap out the trunking with the router to a multi-layer switch. So first thing we'll do is we'll remove this connection here. I'll kill that off, and what we'll do is in our switching we'll grab one of our multi-layer switches, whack it in play, and we'll set this one up. I don't think we can power it on until we do this, and no, I don't want to know about the. So if we do a show run on this one, we have a lovely set of gigabit interfaces and no configuration. Alright, so let's scoot this one over a little, move our notes around. I'm going to insert that one in the middle there, and we're going to create a let's put it on one, and we're going to switch to switch, so let's do the right thing and use the crossover cable. So our VLAN 99 is our management VLAN. So we need to do a trunk between these two devices and to do the basic config. So let's come in and do a show run. Scroll up. And we need to grab it from there. And open Notepad. That didn't do the don't hit the right mouse button, copy, paste. Now we can get rid of this one. Is going to be distribution switch. We can get rid of all the interface commands. Default gateways and that, we don't need any of that. So we basically just want the basic config and the passwords. So we want to select all, copy, come back over to our distribution switch, and alright, so we're on coming back this way, we're on conf is one word, no space required, and the interface was gigabit 102. Now this is our switch port. It's going to be a trunk. So we look at our little interfaces here. We want to do the no negotiate. I'm really not doing well here. Mode. I want to set it manually to trunk. But I won't because it's in dynamic. Alright, I'll put it in desirable then. One of those lovely quirks. Okay, it's trunk. It's going to be a native VLAN 99. So if we now do a show interface trunk, we now have it set up and running. Now we need to configure our VLANs. So VLAN 10, name sales, VLAN 20, name is HR, VLAN 30, staff VLAN 99 is admin. That needs to be a name in front of there. See, even the instructor makes plenty of mistakes, even though he's done it 4 times before then. Alright, so that's how VLAN's created. So if we do show VLANs, we now have those active. Job done. Now we need to configure our VLANs. So need another cup of coffee. Let's try that again, shall we? Into VLAN 10. There we go. We want to put an IP address on these ones. These are our gateways. Alright. Now we want to do this for each now 20, now 30, and our 99. Alright, so there's our IP addresses configured on our VLANs, and none of the other interfaces have it. It should be right. Now, can we ping between VLANs? We should be able to. So we should be able to rinse and repeat that one. Alright, what's going on? IP config 20.1. Yeah. Which is now configured here. Did you forget something? Yes, I forgot something. IP. If we look at it, there should routing. All right. Shall we try that again? That's much better. Why does your teacher make so many mistakes while he's working? 'Cause I'm not paying attention would be the correct answer, but the to make myself feel better, I would say it shows you ongoing troubleshooting as we go along. That's why I don't restart and film a perfect lab environment. People are going to make silly, simple mistakes due to not concentrating properly. And by showing you those silly mistakes and the very simple troubleshooting techniques to find out why it doesn't work, I'm doing two things. I'm showing you that to make errors is human, and B, it's easy to find those mistakes and fix them on the fly. Some people complain that the videos are a little bit more confusing because of that, but I like to keep everybody on the edge. So let's fire up that via our simulations to show that our switching is occurring at the multi-layer switch now, not at the router. So we'll just repeat that ping command and put it through the simulator, and you can see it come up and head out to the switch, multi-layer switch, and bounce back. So technically we have configured our inter-VLAN routing, but we're not going to be going anywhere because we don't have this set up. So what we need to do is change all those sub interfaces. So if we do a show run, you'll see that the switch is still configured for sub interfaces. Now we need to get rid of those and instigate our two network side connection again. Now and we need to configure this to do IP addressing back and forth. So config T, we need to go to all those lovely gigabyte 0.1, and we've got to remove them. So we want to go no interface G0.1 99 30 20 and 10. So if I do a show run now, we don't have any sub interfaces configured anymore. So we just configure this interface with an IP address, but it can't be the 20 because we've put the gateway address on the multi-layer switch. So we'll just create a little link between these two. We'll use the 3 network just to make it neat. So interface G01, we'll make it the IP address is 192.168.3.1. Is it wasteful? Yes. But that's all what we need. Copy, run, start it. come over to our switch. Now our switch is 101. And we want to make it no switch port. This turns it from a layer 2 port to a layer 3 interface. So we now want to put an IP address on this interface. And our description is link to R1. So if we do a show CDP neighbor, expand it out so you can see we have a router on 101, so it's recognizing it there. We have the device configured, so if I do show IP route for this device's routing table, we'll see we have VLAN 99, 10, 20 and 30 and 3. But we don't see the one network or anything on the router side. So what's missing? The gateway of last resort. So default gateway, or do we put in a route? We've got routing enabled, so we could do a default gateway. Alright, but that's really only used, as you can see in the notes here, if not routing IP. Because we are routing, we do a static route command. Alright, so IP route, and we'll use the quad 0 command. If you cast your memory back, you'd know all about it because I've not told you about it. Alright, so this is our default route pointing off to 192.168.3.1. So what we're saying is, if you don't know about it, if it's not in your routing table, send it to the router. So if we now look at our routing table, we have a static route and we now have a gateway of last resort. Now that solves the unknown routes from our switching out, but if we look at router 1, routing table, show IP route, expand this so it's all neat. We've got the 1 and the 3 network. We don't know about all these VLANs. So how are we going to get out and back? You guessed it. We do an IP route coming back only for the lab. And we point it to the 3.2. Okay, that will work for this lab because it's the only way to throw traffic back and forth. Alright, and as we haven't done a great deal of routing and static routes, because guess what? That's kind of chapter 15 and 16. I'll just leave it there. So when we configure static routes, which is chapter 15, I'll explain the true way you should set this one up. Alright, so now if we show the IP routing table, we have a gateway of last resort pointing back into our network. So grab it, come over this way. We want to ping, instead of 1010, we want 110, which is this one over here. ARP resolution. And we finally got there. So now if we do this via the simulation mode, we'll see it going up and out through the multi-layer switch onto the router, out to our device and coming back. All right, that's inter-VLAN routing using a multi-layer switch. So just to recap on, make sure you do the copy run starts, folks, to always get into the habit of saving your configs. You never know when you're going to lose power. So if we show the config file, nothing too outlandish, just configured the router with an IP address like normal. No need for sub interfaces because it's just going to be routing. The multi-layer switch, on the other hand, is a little different. So we change the port facing the router into a layer 3 interface with the no switch port command, then configure it with an IP address. We turn on IP routing, and then the rest of the switch is configured like a switch. So we have all our VLANs, our SVIs configured. We put an IP static route in because we can't use the default route command because we're routing, and we configure our trunk back to the rest of the switches. Now, is this the best practice of daisy chaining it through existing switches? No. The whole idea of getting a distribution switch in place is that we have direct links from the distribution switch down to our access layer switches. Okay, but for the ease of just showing the commands of setting up multi-layer switch and enabling inter-VLAN routing on it. I didn't want to redo the entire lab. So, I think I've rambled enough, and I'll close off this lab video here. Thanks for joining. Until next time, bye for